a little bit ominous. A little bit ominous this chapter. Man, we got some hype coming up. Anybody who's been following my Eden Zero reviews knows I got some hype for Drakken Joe. I'm really looking forward to his display, and we're only seeing more of it in this chapter, legitimately. Like, it starts out pretty lighthearted, pretty fun. They're just kind of talking about Rebecca's ether gear, and you have Wise, who's just a little bit salty about it. He's a little bit salty, whereas Shiki just is like, oh, you're just on your feet. Probably smells bad. You know, he's all calm about it. Just seems chill. Not even trying to, like, you know, be a tease. But that's not something that Rebecca would rather want. So she, she's a little mad about it. But here's Wise upset that it's Speed. He's saying that it's copying his Arsenal suit. And here, Hermit's smart. Hermit's able to analyze because she's a data character. You got Witch, who's more about the upkeep of the ship. You got Sister, who is, the medic. I was right. I would like to say in this chapter, I was right about Valkyrie being the weapon systems person, pretty much of the ship. So it just made sense. So I'm glad that happened. That was revealed. It's a nice little sweet called it. But she's explaining how Leaper is speed. It's specifically a speed-based ability. Though I doubt she knows about the whole time aspect, the weird whatever secret ability it is. However, when it gets fully explained, if it's time, if it's some form of future sight, like was she actually killed and then rewound time, or did she see the events that would transpire if she didn't move? Either way, we'll figure that at some point. But it is a speed-based ability, and the Arsenal suit it's not even really his ether gear, because his ether gear, he's able to real-time alter machines. His Arsenal suit is just an enhancement to it, because he's able to, for one, all around have a physical suit boost, and he's able to alter aspects of it at will, like what we saw, not only weapons, but also the pretty much the rocket boosters on his legs. I mean, it's not just speed, because one, again, weapons, but also he should be able to fly. So flight, I mean, you could be really fast, or you can be fast, or you can be really fast, but the fast has flight on it, so you automatically have that boost. And, it adds durability. I mean, the only real downside to the Arsenal suit that we've seen so far is that it has a high energy cost. But, it was suit number 1, so I expect the next time we see it to be like suit number 2, slight modifications. And when you have a dude who's an inventor and he's always hanging out with Hermit, who's an analyzer and, data person, I'm sure they would figure out, like, we need to do something about that whole high energy usage. We need a more, a much better battery, or a way to limit the systems in a way. But, from that, they're kind of just discussing everything around it. And again, like, he's like saying that, well, Arsenal, like, the speed is one of its selling points. No, I think the fact that you become a living weapon, you're literally just wearing a giant weapon, is the selling point. But he's a little bit salty about it. He's a little bit salty, and his excuse to explain it was, why would there be a superhero team with 2 people with the same power? But then you can look at something like, you have Superman and you have the Flash in the Justice League. Superman is fast, but he's also got these other powers, whereas the Flash, he's faster, but he's speed entirely. He's based all around speed. Whereas Weiss somewhere has other aspects to it that he's able to enhance and work around. But then Shiki's like, listen, we're going to sort this out in a good way. Let's race. Whereas, Rebecca's like, we're not even superheroes. If anything, we're like space adventurers. She's like, she's pretty much a YouTuber. And Shiki's just like a freelance dude. He's just a freelance job guy. He does whatever shows up, job changes and different things. And Pino is happy. She really wants to be in the race. I really liked in Heroes when, she talked about being a rabbit. And here she's just so happy. She really wants to join in this race. And it's like, well, how exactly is she going to join? You have straight speed, Rebecca. You have flight and adjustable, suit Wise. And you have Shiki, who is all around like gravity manipulation. How's she gonna compete? But then you gotta keep in mind where their powers stem from and where her powers kind of like go around. But meanwhile, you got Witch and Homura, and they're talking about the shining stars. And in reality, and she's like, what do? They don't really have a set purpose. They do one thing, but out of it, they kind of, quote unquote, serve the Demon King. But in reality, they're more of like friends, kind of advisors. It's more, it's a understanding that he is superior, but not having any way of like a real hierarchy. It's more of like well, we know that you're the boss, but we're still going to treat you like everybody else. But you are the one that makes the calls, and because you're the best one for this scenario. And I really like that the look on Amora's face, and she's like saying how she thought of something indecent when she imagined absolute servitude. Again, I like the idea more that Switch. And I know obviously like the shipping is gonna go like, well, you got Rebecca as the lead female and Shiki as the lead male. I think it would work better, putting Rebecca and Wise, interesting because they have that whole thing, like she's got no old Wise as the reason why she's got Happybot, and I think Shiki and Homura would just kind of mesh better. I like that setup there, but here's Homura, what she's talking about. She's like, there is one thing though, and this is something I think anybody that's read Hiromishima's works could have read it and said, if you were going into Hiromishima's work just with Eden Zero, you didn't get the 3173. I think everybody predicted it was going to have something to do with Etherion. I figured Etherion was going to be some way involved in Eden Zero. My guess was the Eden Zero ship, and lo and behold, that's what we got. 3173, that being Etherion, the thing that they need all 4 shining stars in order to do. And the thing that interests me is that she says that they can't tell Shiki about it, and I'm fine with them, like, okay, we won't tell Rebecca or Wise or Pino or anybody. I'm curious of why not tell Shiki, because he's the boss. But obviously Homura's like, I'm bad at keeping secrets, don't tell me. So at some point we'll find out the secret of what this Etherion does versus the other ones. I'm guessing it's not as much as a weapon. Like in Rave Master, it was more of like this power of creation. In like holy creation and light energy, whereas like Fairy Tail, it was a super weapon. It was this big orbital like space-time transcending energy cannon, where I think in Eden Zero will be more of like the reason why their ship is so great. Maybe some like, I don't know, I'm thinking of something kind of like, what is it in Doctor Who? Like for the TARDIS, he has like ships or stars, like the core of the TARDIS. They had like stars that were frozen in the state of a supernova or something to give it power, something ridiculous like that, some crazy like infinite energy source, essentially just to keep the ship always at energy. But meanwhile, back to Rebecca, and she's like, oh, I can't believe Pino won, and like right when the race started, she used her EMP to knock everybody out. Her EMP affecting their ether gears and their and Wise's straight machines, so they just kind of just fall over while she's able to achieve victory in this race. I liked that a lot. I thought that was great. But there was the good point that Hermit didn't want her to do, because not only would an EMP affect the ship's systems, but it affects, the shining stars that are Hermit, Hermit, Witch, and Sister, who are all, robots. It's going to affect their systems. The only robot that would be unaffected is Pino, for whatever reasons that make her special in this case. But after that point, Rebecca falls asleep and has what seems to be a prediction of the future. How far in the future, I'm wondering. Like, outfit-wise, Shiki looks pretty much the same, except he's missing the little patch over his chin, like on his cheek, and he's got like 2 little scars. I'm wondering, though, about that is, did Hiroshima undo the scar on Natsu's face so Shiki could have it as his character trait? Because then he could have not only the scars, but have the bandage. Because a lot of the characters in Fairy Tail have scars, and generally they keep them. The facial scar looked awesome on Natsu. I thought that was really cool. But it was weird that that's the only one that he had undone, really, especially on the main character. I'm guessing it was so, he could have it on Shiki, whereas it wasn't another thing. Like, oh, look, they're the same. Or just get that out of the way. Because not only that, if you've read the volume extra where he talks about why he's got Happybot in the series, is he planned for certain characters to look similar on purpose. Like for obvious instance, you have Elsie Crimson and Justice. They look like Urza and Jalal, but instead of Urza being this character of like justice and goodness, and Jalal being this reformed former big bad guy reformed, trying to be like this, guy trying to cleanse all his sins. You have Elsie, who's like, scum of the cosmos, space pirate, and Justice, who's this military guy, seems to be pretty by the book, trying to catch this criminal. in Happybot was because Hiroshima didn't want to start the series without a cute mascot, because it's obviously Pino for Eden Zero, but he didn't want to wait until the chapter where Pino came in, so he had Happybot be, kind of the stand-in. And if you go back and read some of those early chapters, you'd notice that Happybot has a lot more time on screen. Up until that point, once Pino shows up, he slowly gets less and less time, and he's barely in it, like, to be perfectly honest at this point. But in this, seemingly vision of the future, when Shiki goes and helps Rebecca, and he's asking where she can do without her guns, where's Happy, and he's just like, well, what are you going to do with a dead cat? So it seems that Hiroshima does plan to get rid of Happybot, get rid of that character, and give her some different guns in the future. So I'm pretty okay with this, because one, it's weird, I guess, in his mind. He's been doing manga for 20 plus years, to have start a series without the cute mascot. Like, almost every single major series has some form of cute mascot character. It just seems to be it's something fun. And in this case, he had pretty much a stand-in, and after that point, he had a backstory related to Rebecca. So instead of just being like, okay, we're just gonna make you less relevant, because for instance, you have Plu and Rave Master. Plu is that series' cute mascot character, and he exists in the other series, but in Fairy Tail, he's not really relevant to anything. He's done in some funny scenes, but he doesn't really have any purpose within the series overall. And he's got nothing in Rave Master, and not Rave Master, obviously he's the cute mascot, but also the Rave Bear. But in Eden Zero, the only thing really is that there's a bunch of Plus working at that restaurant. And in this series, you got Happybot, and there does seem to be a planet, seemingly, of Exceed, of these intelligent cat aliens. But after the point of, instead of just being like, well, similar to how Plu was just kind of cute occasionally, he would show up on a panel and be silly and fun, it was, let's take this character that now has a tie to the lead female and kill him off and do something, do a important character point with that, which I think is a good idea. I like that. It wouldn't be the same as if he did that with Plu in Fairy Tail. I don't think it really would have fit. It's like, well, he doesn't have any lines. There's no real backstory to him tying in. He's just a fun key that Lucy bought while in chapter 1 at the store. Well, meanwhile, whereas Happybot has a tie-in to not only the backstory of Rebecca, but ties into Old Man Wise, and is part of the reason that Wise is even part of the crew. Why she even knew him, why they even ended up getting him, and doing the whole thing over on Norma. She ends up waking up, and I don't think it was a bad dream. I think it was a premonition of the future, because we know that it seemingly her power is either messes with time or sees the future. And I think with this, it's much more prevalent into being able to do that. Maybe instead of just being like straight, oh, she's fast, it's a time-based power, because Hiroshima does have a boner for time. And it's like, oh, she's not just, fast, she's accelerating time around her, and she can see into the future. Instead of rewinding time when she got by Nino, it was actually she just saw what would happen and then lived those events in future sight, and then knew what to do. Or it could be a few moments time reversal, whatever it may be. She ends up waking up, she's freaking out. She gives Happybot a nice hug, and then they find out what's going on. Shiki did not like being followed by the burial gore, because Drakken Joe's been following them. So instead of waiting for them to either leave or waiting for them to do the first strike, he decides to strike first, because Omura, Pino, Wise, and Shiki have all geared up, and they now have left on one of their spare ships to go onto the burial gore, because the burial gore is not just the base of operations for Drakken Joe. He's got stores in there we've already seen, and Shiki's got this cool earring on, and they're like, okay, let's figure out how to do this. Let's first off, we gotta they gotta find their leader and take care of him. And where it's like, okay, cool, you guys have this discreet communication device. Not gonna matter, because at the last panel, Drakken Joe already knows. So this guy just seems to just have everything set up. He's smart. He's not leaving anything really to the chance. He's not He's not being like, oh, whatever. Well, they'll run into us. He's keeping information on, similar to, having a guy who's based around money and connections. Information is going to be important. Hijack, kind of like wiring, maybe places, hijacking people's frequencies for whatever communications there are and stuff. And he's already shown that from the whole instance of stealing Kurenai's Oculus satellite, that they can pretty much take over other people's equipment, other people's technology. So it's either him or one of his crew members has some form of tech skills. So maybe that'll be a battle for Hermit. I wonder what Hermit's going to do when she finds out that they were able to do this without her realizing. But anyway, comment below and tell me what you thought about this chapter. It had some really nice setup material, but Drakken Joe in that last panel he's got my hype. Every time he shows up to me, I get more interested in him over whatever else is going on. It's like I've said before. We got all these plot points going on, and, I've read all of Hiromishima's works, including the one-shots and stuff, but the one thing that, for me, is very interesting. I like what's going on with stuff like the Code 3173, with the whole Ethereon in there, the premonition of what's going on with Rebecca and whatnot. Drakken Joe is my most interest because he's very different from Hiromishima's other villains. He's just a straight crime lord. He doesn't seem like, some wayward bad guy with a tragic backstory, or, some guy doing what he thinks is right. I love those guys. They're still my favorite of Hiromishima's by a lot, but Drakken Joe, he's got a huge level of freshness to him compared to a lot of the other ones. And especially when he's not the main overall villain, at least that we know of. He's, he's the villain at the moment. We don't know who the big overarching bad guy will be, but at the time of, here's Drakken Joe just being in the face of things, ready to do some bad guy stuff. So I can't wait to see more of him. And this is his arc, because this isn't, oh yeah, they're doing stuff and then Drakken Joe shows up. They're taking the fight to him. So this is going to be his arc. I'm expecting them to get their asses kicked, because he just seems 2 steps ahead of everybody that he encounters. Anyway, comment below, tell me about the chapter, and tell me what you think is coming up, what part you were most interested and hyped about, and I'd really appreciate you thumbs up the video, but from the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. For that, I appreciate everybody who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.